Now, for the longest time, a lot of fans have been asking endless questions about Grogu, his true identity, where he really comes from, and exactly what his species really are, and exactly what kind of secrets and connections he really has to Yoda, as Jon Favreau recently teased for, of course, the character in the upcoming Mandalorian seasons, and also new installments on the horizon. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that they are going through a lot of planning stages for Grogu and exactly how he's going to be utilized in Season 4 and now a potential Season 5 by both Jon and Dave, they have a long list of storyboards that have already been created and finalized for the 4th season as we speak, a lot of which is very revealing and very much in tune with the character of Grogu, what kind of revelations are going to be remaining intact for that series or for that show specifically, and how it's going to connect to other ones. Now, we know that Dave Filoni has said this before a couple of days ago, that he believes that Grogu is really like the link between all of the upcoming existing Mandoverse-era projects, and exactly how that's going to be their avenue to really grow him as a character throughout time. Now, with that being put out there and really, said, we know that Dave Filoni and Jon have been teasing a lot of things. They've been really ramping up production for a lot of other upcoming Star Wars shows and really trying to hype the fan base at the end of the day. That's basically their mission, is that they want to make sure that they can make the fans very happy and engaged with the upcoming content. So let's dive right into exactly what is going on with Mandalorian Season 4 and how it actually has a lot to do with Grogu's first words as a character. Now, with that being of course said, with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau working on big key reveals for Grogu in both Mandalorian Season 3 and 4, they are also in the storyboarding process of Mando Season 4 as well, many of which are being finalized for the series. Now, one of the storyboards involves the very moment that Grogu reveals his first actual words, and new details about his identity are revealed in this planned scene that's being mapped out. The illustration description followed by both Din and Grogu on a strange, foresty, and green-looking world that has large lakes and waterfalls. This is said to be the planet that Grogu and Yoda's species come from, and that Jon and Dave are about to unveil many other characters connected to their species in Season 4. The scene involves a moment in which Grogu is in his navigation pod, where he points at a large statue that resembles a member of his species. Now, here's the kicker. In the storyboard, Grogu's first words are described to be him simply saying, "my home." The scenes that follow Grogu's first words are said to actually involve a member of Grogu's species talking to him. So let me just stop here for one moment. Now, we know that Jon and Dave are mapping out all these different storyboards that include actual illustrations of what's going on in the upcoming scene, as well as dialogue that's being inserted in there. And in this very moment, Din is with Grogu on this strange planet that is said to be the home of Yoda, Yaddle, and Grogu. And basically, we're going to be learning more about the origin of Grogu's species. Now, in just a second, we're going to be going over what the species are going to be called, and exactly what the world is going to be called in the upcoming story for Mando 4. Now again, as Jon Favreau talked about this, the script is basically done. They're just doing a lot of storyboarding right now to finalize certain elements of the show and any kind of changes and revisions that may need be in the Mando 4 project. So on top of this too, one thing that I do want to point out is Grogu's simple first words, like first full actual words being "my home," I think is a very interesting way to go about doing it. Now, we know that everything related to the most recent episode, we had Grogu mutter something on Tatooine, but it really wasn't an actual first word. It was something more like gibberish, so to speak. So basically what Jon and Dave are about to do is that Grogu's going to pick up on the speech from Din Djarin, picking up, basic. And what I like about that is that this is going to go show you exactly, how Grogu learns the basic language. Now, the thing about this, too, is that when you look at everything related to Yoda's species so far in Legends, alright, there was more people than just Yoda and Yaddle. There were more. And that's what John and Dave want to base this on. They want to explore more characters related to Yoda's species, and they're going to be doing that on Grogu's home world. Now, on top of this, alright, it's in this very moment in which it's unveiled to fans that Grogu and Yoda's species are officially set up to be called the FAV, and spoken in a plural sense, much like when you say the Jedi. The FAV are planned to have strong connections with the Force, and that the Empire is hunting them down to make young Palpatine clones, which is why Grogu is a big interest to them. John and Dave are said to be inspired from the popular line "E.T. Phone Home" for Grogu's first words being "my home." As it turns out in the illustration, Grogu is referred to as Yorl, and that Grogu is surprisingly, as it turns out, the name of Grogu's world. John and Dave are currently in the process of finalizing these plans for Mando Season 4 to be revised for the official script of the 4th season of the Mandalorian series. Now, the thing that I like about this is that they're not only giving Grogu a name that's going to be like Yoda and Yaddle, it's going to be called Yorl, and it kind of rhymes when you say all three, you know, Yoda, Yaddle, and Yorl, but the kicker, the big twist here, or at least one of the revelations, these aren't even the tip of the iceberg, by the way. There's more revelations to come involving Grogu, who he really is, and what potential he really has in this world, where he really actually came from. But naming the home world Grogu, I think, is very unique, because we already know that based on some of the other illustrations that John and Dave have been working on, it's that the Jedi named him Grogu when he was actually brought into the Jedi Temple, and the only thing that they could actually get out of his mind was thinking about his home world, Grogu. Now, it's interesting of an idea that they are approaching. I think some fans are not going to like this, to be honest, and this is exactly why it's in the storyboarding process. They're still testing the waters, they're still trying to make these revelations work out for Mando Season 4, and where it's all gonna go. Quite frankly, I think it might be best to keep Yoda's species a bit more mysterious, instead of just full-blown revealing it in Mando Season 4. But one thing is for certain is that there's not a lot of his species on this world. It's described to be very barren, with very few life forms on it. So, for all we know, maybe Jon Favreau is only going to unveil like 3 new characters that are actually related to Yoda's species. For all we know, right? For all we know. So, what Favreau and Dave are really setting up is that they really want to unveil his first true words being a connection to his home, and how that in itself is going to actually add more revelations provided by this new character for, of course, you know, Yoda's species. We're not quite sure who it is just yet, other than it does look like an elderly version of Yoda. That's about it. And if you guys look back at Legends, by the way, there are a couple of characters beyond Yoda and Yaddle from Yoda's species, specifically. I kind of like that they're called the FAB. I don't know why it reminds me of, like, a frog, but I'm guessing that's where they got it from. But anyways, guys, fill me in below in the comments what you guys had to say about all of this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.